So I just watched the trailer for the upcoming James Gunn Superman movie, and we gotta talk about this trailer. We gotta talk about this trailer and this upcoming Superman movie, and bear with me because there's a bunch of stuff I gotta cover and a bunch of stuff I want to unpack. So again, bear with me. Uh, First off, it's obviously not an origin movie. Now, here's the thing about origin movies for all of you morons. It's not about, learning about Krypton and seeing Krypton get destroyed and Superman as a baby coming to Earth and him growing up in Kansas. That's not the point of an origin movie. Okay? That can literally be done in like 5-minute flashback. The point of an origin movie is to tell the story of how the world reacts to the superhero for the very first time. That's the point of an origin movie, is the world is going to be introduced to Superman for the very first time, and the story is about how the world reacts to a Superman and how that works. And James Gunn is going, yeah, I don't want to tell that story. I'm just going to throw that away. But why? If this was a one-off movie, I get it. It's a one-off movie. So you want to go straight to telling a Superman story and, go into the action and all that stuff. Except this is not a one-off movie. This is meant to be an established franchise. There's going to be a second and a third and a fourth movie. All of the story elements that are in this movie, you can easily tell in the second and in the third and in the fourth movie. Like, Lois already knows Clark is Superman. Why? Why would you throw away that relationship story arc? Like, you could have in the first movie that Lois doesn't know that Clark is Superman, and you can have that dynamic. And then in the second movie, have it that, Lois ends up finding out that Clark is Superman, and you can have that story. Like, for some reason, this movie is throwing away viable story elements for literally no reason. Now, again, it's not about finding out that, learning about Krypton. It's not about that. It's about an origin story movie. Try to remember the first Iron Man movie. Yes, the thing with the Iron Man movie was none of you knew who Iron Man was. So the movie had to spend a whole bunch of time, doing his origin and how he got his powers. But the rest of the movie was about how the world is reacting to an Iron Man and how you all loved that. Well, that's what he could have done. That's what James Gunn could have done with the Superman movie. Have it so that it's an introduction of the character to the world and have that story element. And then in the second and in the third movie, do all of the whole fighting a war or stopping the interview. Okay, before we get to the interview. Because here's the thing that pissed me off about it not being an origin story for Superman and introducing Superman to the world for the first time. Because you're doing that because apparently it's Lex Luthor's origin movie. Lex Luthor's being introduced in this movie. Why isn't Lex Luthor an established supervillain? No, I mean seriously. Apparently, Superman's been on the Earth for whoever knows how long. He's a known entity. So why not just skip Lex Luthor's origin and have it so that, like, why are we being introduced to Lex Luthor for the first time? That's what I mean about how it doesn't make any sense. Like, why didn't you throw away that story element? Why didn't you just have it that, Lex Luthor is an established villain and he's a known entity? So again, the idea of Superman's introduction to the world, we don't have to do that, but we have to do that with Lex Luthor. Why? Everybody knows Lex Luthor. Anybody who knows Superman knows Lex Luthor. So why do it for one but not the other? But then we have Lex Luthor's motivation for not liking Superman. Is it because Lex Luthor is worried that Superman is going to stop his latest criminal criminal, plan? No. Is he mad at Superman because he's, a threat to humanity? No. This movie has it that Lex Luthor has a mad on for Superman because he's trending more than Lex Luthor? Like in the trailer, Lex Luthor goes, the world has this preoccupation with Superman, and I will not allow that. What? Because Superman's popular? I swear to God, by what I'm getting from this trailer, Luthor wants to get rid of Superman because Superman is trending more than he is. I'm sorry. Why else would Lex Luthor be mad that the world has a preoccupation with Superman? It's like Lex Luthor goes, look, I'm building this free energy device. And then he goes on social media and he goes on the news and Superman's getting more press than he is. And he's going, this is pissing me off. How dare Superman get more press than me? I'm sorry. That's what it's being established in this trailer. Then we have the interview. This interview. This was such a joke. This interview makes no sense. This interview is a giant ball of brain dead stupid. Because it never should have happened. Because Clark is literally taken aback by Lois's questions. Well, here's the thing. That would only work, that would only happen if Lois and Clark never discussed what happened as Superman stopping the war. That's the only way that could happen. Can't happen. Because here's the thing. See, that would only be able to happen if Lois didn't know that Clark was Superman. Because as soon as Clark, stopped the war and then came back to the States, as soon as Clark entered, Lois's apartment or Lois entered Clark's apartment, Lois would have been going, what the hell did you just do? And she would have, and all of the questions that she's having in this interview, she would have asked Clark as soon as he got back from the war. That never happened, apparently. Now, again, her asking these questions to Clark for the first time would only work if Lois didn't know that Clark was Superman, and thus would have never been able to have had this conversation with him in the first place. Because the only way this interview would have worked with Superman's reaction is if Lois didn't know that Clark was Superman, and Superman goes to Lois and goes, Lois, I understand people are giving me a hard time in the press, and they have questions. I will do an interview with you so that I can tell my side of the story. And then Lois would have these questions and go, oh, okay. And then that would throw off Clark. But that's not what's happened. The movie's already established that Lois knows that Clark is Superman, so you can't have these surprise questions. Because, again, in the interview, Lois says that the press has been giving you a hard time, and today the Secretary of Defense is looking into your actions. Well, that means that means at least a day or two from when Superman stopped the war to when when Clark decides to be interviewed as Superman. During those 1 or 2 days, Lois and Clark never discussed what happened? Bullshit! That doesn't make any, that's the only way those questions would have worked. Because all of those questions that Lois was asking in the interview, Lois would have asked Clark as soon as he walked into the door, coming back from stopping the war. She would have been going, what are you doing? But time had to have gone by, because otherwise you wouldn't have had the news giving him a hard time. You wouldn't have had the time for the Secretary of Defense to go, oh, today he's doing it. Today he's looking into his actions. So for what, 1 or 2 days, Lois and Clark never discussed what was going on, what happened, and she never questioned. Like, again, she's at least his friend. Well, again, obviously it's more because you can see that they're kissing. So they're in a relationship. You're going to tell me that Lois wasn't going, oh my God, Clark, did you not know what you just did? You're like, as the news is trashing Clark, they obviously must have been watching it, and Lois would be going, see, this is what happened. And like, don't tell me that this interview only works as if Lois and Clark never discussed it beforehand, which is why Clark, because that way Clark would have known what her questions would have been, and he would have been shocked by them. Oh, and again, she goes, the press has been trashing you, right? And I'm going, well, so are you, bitch. Because I'm listening to the questions she's asking in the interview. And I'll discuss some of the questions because they're hilarious. I'm listening to her questions and I'm going, this interview is the equivalent of J. Jonah Jameson interviewing Spider-Man. Because J. Jonah Jameson hates Spider-Man, or at least doesn't like him. So no matter what Spider-Man does, J. Jonah Jameson will spin it so that whatever Spider-Man does, it's a bad thing. Well, that's exactly what Lois is doing. Because there's this very important line. She goes, the press has been giving you a hard time, or something like that. Now, for her to say that, that's her going, okay, the press has been giving you a hard time. I'm not. I'm going to differentiate myself from how the press has been giving you a hard time. But what does she do? No, she doesn't. She gives them just as much of a hard time as the press is, as everybody else is, because she's literally dismissing everything he does. She is literally dismissing what he did, because one of her first questions is, or one of her first statements is, or accusations is, you entered the country illegally. What? It's like, what was he supposed to do, bitch? Go through customs? Like what? Like, let's not discuss the actual war and what happened. No. Let's find a way to establish how you shouldn't have gone there in the first place. Like, what was Clark supposed to do? Get on a plane to go to the country, go through customs, legally be in the country, then put on his Superman suit and then stop the war? Then it would have been okay? Like, this is so... She asks, did you consult with the president? I love this question because his response was no. Wrong response. His response should have been why. You want to know why his response should have been why? Because I would have loved to have heard Lois's bullshit way of trying to justify why he should have consulted with the president in the goddamn first place. Oh, you should have consulted with the president. Why? I don't know. It just seems like a way of... I'm just establishing a way of dismissing what you did and getting... I love these questions because she's literally doing what the rest of the press was doing for the last 2 days, trashing him. And she's doing the exact same thing. Like, she's not being fair. She's not actually... She's not getting his side of the story. All she's doing is accusing him and playing out blame. Does he get it? Again, obviously in the movie, he might get a chance to explain himself. But in the trailer, he doesn't even get a chance to justify or explain himself. And even when he does, she gets mad at him. She dismisses that too. He goes, I stopped the war. And she goes, yeah, maybe. She's literally dismissing what he did. What he did isn't important. Why? Because we can't trash you for having stopped a war and saving lives. We can't trash you for that. So we have to dismiss what you did in the goddamn first place. But here's the other thing that I loved about her asking, did you consult with the president? Because this is an opportunity for James Gunn to establish he understands the Superman character. Because I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet, but if there's a point where Superman is conflicted in should he or shouldn't he intervene, he wouldn't consult with the president. He would consult with Ma and Pa Kent. Because their consult and their opinion would be more important to him. So if James Gunn has it that, Clark, before he goes to intervene, goes and consults with his parent, with Ma and Pa Kent, that would be what Clark Kent would do. But here's the thing. Wouldn't he have discussed this with Lois in the first place? But again, the movie has it, the trailer has it that they never actually discussed this. Here's the crazy thing about this trailer. It didn't go, oh my God, I'm so excited for this movie, I want to watch it. It's, I now want to watch this movie to see if this movie can actually justify the bullshit that was in this trailer. And I'm betting it won't. I'm betting it won't. And I was like, you seemingly acted as a representative of the U.S. Not you did, but you seemingly did. So she's literally making up a reason to get mad at him for what she did, because he didn't act as a representative, but you seemingly acted. Well, no, you seemingly acted because now you're establishing that. And it's like, this will cause more problems around the world. Yeah, forget the war you stopped. We can't argue, and we can't challenge you on you stopping the war and saving lives. So we have to spin it so we can find a way to get mad at you for having done the thing that you did. It's literally J. Jonah Jameson interviewing Spider-Man just so that he can trash him and spin it. This is so ridiculous. This is such a ridiculous interview. Here's the other thing about the trailer. Now, I want you to understand, it's what I'm getting from the trailer. I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm just explaining what I'm getting from the trailer. And that is, apparently, a plot element in the story is that the public needs to be mad at Superman. And the way it's being done is that the press is trashing Superman for having stopped the war. So to get the public mad at Superman, the movie has it that the press is trashing Superman for having stopped the war. I'm sorry, that's kind of weak. Like if it was Lex Luthor, set up a trap for Superman or tricked Superman or, tricked the press into thinking Superman did something bad, then that would have worked. That would be good. That would work. Or have it that maybe Lex owns the news organizations and is basically J. Jonah Jameson Superman, going, I own these news organizations. I want you to trash Superman for having stopped the war. That would work. But again, Lois is also trashing Superman for having stopped the war. So does Lex Luthor also own the Daily Planet? Like if again, because I haven't seen the movie, if it's established in the movie that Lex Luthor owns the news organizations, including the newspapers like the Daily Planet, and he's telling them to trash. But then again, even if he did, wouldn't Lois kind of tell Superman, oh, by the way, there's a memo from, the top brass that we're supposed to trash you for it. So again, I don't know how this movie is going to incorporate it, but by what I'm seeing from the trailer, the movie is having it that Lex Luthor isn't responsible for the press being mad at Superman. The press is just doing it on its own because that's the weak ass way of how James Gunn could come up with to have the public mad at Superman. And I'm sorry, that's kind of weak. Again, I want to stress, I'm only getting this reaction from the trailer. The movie could very well explain it and could very well justify it. Hence, again, like I said, I'm not watching the movie because I'm excited to see the movie. I'm interested in seeing the movie to see if the movie actually justifies all the stupid that I'm getting from this trailer. So anyway, in regard to the trailer in general, it's the interview, and then after the interview, it's the introduction of Lex Luthor and the weak-ass explanation as to why he's, the bad guy and has a mad on for Superman, which I already covered. And the rest of the trailer is a certain tactic that some trailers use that I'm not a fan of, because I consider it a cheap trick type tactic. Because it's a bunch of clips where some of the clips are you're going, well, whoa, what's happening there? How is that happening? What's going on there? Like, there's a one scene where you see somebody taking Superman and smashing him, into the ground, and you're going, well, who's that person and how is that happening? And there's a scene of a bunch of guards being able to beat up Superman with batons, and it's like, okay, how is that happening? And there's a scene of, Superman being in some type of glass cage and he's punching out. And it's like, okay, well, how did he get in that glass cage and what's going on and how is that situation? And there's a whole bunch of clips like that. And it's the trailer's tactic of, are you confused about what's going on? Are you curious as to what's happening? Well, I guess you got to go watch the movie to get answers. And to me, that's a cheap trick tactic that isn't really necessary for a Superman movie, because it's not the type of trailer where it's like, oh wow, I got to see what happens. Like a clip in a trailer where it's like something's happening and they cut it right off. They cut it before it's able to be resolved, and you're going, oh well, I want to know what happened. So now I got to go see the movie so I can see what happened in the trailer, because there was that clip and it's like, oh my God, he was about to confront this person. It's like, what's going to happen? Well, I got to go see the movie to go see it, to find out. Or it's not like, it's not like there was the type of trailer where it's like, oh wow, this is a very interesting premise. This is a very interesting idea. It's got me interested to want to watch the movie. This trailer doesn't do that. This trailer is basically going, we're going to confuse you, and if you want to get answers, watch the movie. I'm sure that there are some people that it works on, and I'm sure there are those of you that like it. I'm just not a fan of that tactic in regards to trailers. Other than that, I don't want to belabor too long, but those are the things that I wanted to get out of my system and talk about and rant about. But overall, it's a movie I was going to watch anyway. And it's a movie that the majority of people who were going to watch the movie anyway didn't really need a trailer in the first place. And for those who are on the fence, I don't see how this trailer convinced anybody to want to see the movie, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm interested in watching the movie anyway, even though I'm not really a fan of James Gunn and his portrayal of superheroes, but that's a whole other video. Anyway, rambled on long enough. Got out of my system. I'm good. I'm going to go make something to eat now. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm good. I'm done. I'm out of here. See ya.